live. And I'm super excited for all of you that tuned in tonight. Thank you again for continuing to be faithful, showing up. And this is really about you. It's not about me. It's not about the exception. This is about all of you that have taken the challenge to reboot your life, to come to these classes each week and to take information and put it into your life, start to practice the principles that we've been teaching throughout the weeks. And so week 11, congratulations. This is actually the last class that I'm going to be teaching. Next week's going to be a graduation. We're going to be having fun with it, hearing from some of you, also be giving away some money and prizes and different stuff like that. And just congratulating you guys and sending you off with a bang. So this is really the last official class, and I just want to thank all of you for tuning in again. I didn't start recording this live really for the people that are tuning in just for you and I. I opened it up so that everyone can tune in and watch this information, but this is going to be created into a program that people are going to register for. So you that tuned in live each week, I want to thank you. You were my live audience to tape this, and we appreciate it. Once again, we appreciate Rick and Hope Culture. We appreciate Leak Studios and everything that has gone in, our whole Exception team, for everything it's taken to get through these 11 weeks. And those of you that have been writing in, telling us your stories, telling us how the information is impacting your life, we're grateful for all of that. And tonight I just want to make sure, as we go into the last part of self-mastery, I want to make sure that we understand the content. I want to make sure that everybody understands what this whole course was about and what can we take from it. And so as we get started looking at self-mastery, this is the last part of the section 4 today. I want to go back to something that I opened up the course with. And that was a quote from Lao Tzu. And he said this. He said, "Give a man a fish, feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, feed him for a lifetime." And I want you to understand that we don't want to just give you a fish. That's not why I created this course. That's not why I'm teaching this course. In other words, just to put a Band-Aid or just to teach you something just for a day that's going to help you. But I wanted to give you something that'll last you a lifetime. And so this whole course is about learning a process. It's about learning a pattern of how to become self-aware, how to have self-control and self-mastery, how to change your life, how to change your reality into whatever you want. And we talked about in the beginning also how important it was for us to learn the laws of the universe. We have to understand that we can't control the law of gravity. We can't control the laws of physics. We can't change the law of sowing and reaping. There are certain patterns and principles that the Creator has set up in this code, this three-dimensional reality that we live in. But us as humans, how do we fit into that world? How can we start to work with the universe, to work with the laws that are there so that we can create a better life for ourselves, so that we can let go of unhealthy patterns and habits programs that have been running within us and start to activate new healthy habits and start to have a new growth mindset so that we can take advantage of this beautiful world that was given to us. It's actually a beautiful place. Consciousness is a beautiful thing, and I want us to focus on controlling what we can control. You see, if we can learn how the game works, then we can start becoming more skillful at the game. We can start navigating life a little bit better. I want you to understand something. If you want to lose weight, you can do it. If you want to get in shape, you can do it. If you want to start a business, you can do that. If you want to be a better father and mother, you can do that. If you want to, change the world, you can do that as well. But before you change the world, we first have to start with ourselves. It begins with us. You can do whatever you want in this reality, and it all starts with your thoughts. But once you start learning the patterns, and you start learning the rhythms, and you start learning the principles and how to apply these things in your life, how to see in real time when certain thought patterns and old ideas come up and attachments, and you start to tear them down and change your mind about certain things, what happens is you start to gain that little swim. It's like learning to ride a bike. It's like learning to drive a car, learning to surf or to swim. Once you get going, then eventually it gets fun and you start to take control and you become the master of your environment, and you're no longer just subdued by the world and being pushed back and on your heels and just getting by. Too many people are just getting by. Too many people, they're stuck in the same old situation, settling for what they really don't want, in relationships that they don't belong in, some of them, at jobs, that dead-end jobs, taking them nowhere. They have no passion for, no desire to be there, but they think they can't do anything else. They feel stuck in that situation. I want you to understand, you can change that about yourself. You can change your life. And it starts with this 3-step simple process that I've been talking about throughout the whole course. And I go back to it because I want you to understand that process. Knowing, doing, and being. Knowing, doing, and being. This is the formula to learn anything new. Anything new any new skill set that you want, any new job or new business you want to start, you can learn it through these simple steps. You know, you learn the information, you do it, you start exercising that information and practicing it, and then that becomes a pattern in you. It becomes programmed in your subconscious, and it's not something you're working hard towards anymore. It gets easier because your subconscious is working for you. And it's the same with you. Anything you want to change about yourself, this is the easy process. Self-awareness, self-control, and self-mastery. You see the same pattern. We become aware of that thing. Maybe we have an anger problem. We have a jealousy problem. We have a problem with, lust or certain things, or overeating, over drinking, whatever we're indulging in, gambling too much, putting ourselves in a position where we're hurting our family, whatever it is. We know depression. We have a struggle with fear, constant anxiety, always worried about what's next and how and what ifs and maybes. And what happens when we become aware of these things, we can start to learn how to change those things in real time as we catch them and we choose something different. Listen, our destiny is being shaped by our decisions, by the choices that we're making every day, and you and I can change, and you and I can choose to be different each and every day. I told you we all have this capacity. Become self-aware. Then start to take self-control, and eventually it'll be self-mastery, and you'll be living at peak potential at the top of your game. And it all starts with us, though. What story are we telling ourselves about ourselves? We talked about this through the class, but I want you to understand that your narrative is having a huge effect on what goals you're setting for yourself. Your narrative is having a huge effect on how you see yourself, how you see the world around you. It's so important to know that your identity is evolving. Who we are when we were born is not who we're going to be when we die. And the fact that we still have breath in our lungs, the fact that we're still conscious and aware means that we to change our trajectory. If we were in a habit of losing, we can change that and become a winner at life. We can change that negative thinking and start to think positive and start to change the way our body feels and the way our body works. All of this is up to us. You see, our identity is based on the beliefs that we have, and that is like a thermostat. In other words, what that means is whatever you believe about yourself is creating your set point. It's creating your standard for what you expect from life. Too many of us aren't expecting enough. We're settling for, but we deserve better. We deserve more. We can have more. All we have to do is activate the rules. Like what law? Like the law of faith. You know that power is available to every single one of you listening to me right now. The power of faith isn't just for a select few. The power of faith was given to all of us, and we can activate that power. We can start to believe in a better us. We can start to change our story and not settle and not let our future be based on our past, but start to be deliberate about who we want to be, how we want to act, how we want to talk, how we want to raise our children, how we want to have our marriage. What do we want that to be like? We can start to be thoughtful and be deliberate and not just settle and go back and forth with the same old arguments, the same old stuff. Listen, when we raise our standard, when we change our narrative, when we start seeing ourselves as someone with a growth mentality, somebody that can do what we're setting ourselves to do, the universe will adjust to us. The universe will come to our set point and start bringing to us what we believe we deserve. We've talked about this throughout the weeks. Like attracts like. That's why it's so important that we're careful with our environment. It's vital that we don't get caught in the wrong environment. I know what it feels like to be caught in a place where you're just around people that are negative and they don't want to do nothing with their life and they don't have no dreams and goals. And when you're around people like that, when you try and tell them about your goals and your dreams, usually they step on those dreams and they step on those goals because misery loves company. People want you to be stuck with them. They don't want to see you winning while they're not figuring it out. They're not able to better themselves. Just listen, if we can help them grow, great. But if not, we got to move on and get into an environment where people are telling us what we can do, and people are encouraging our dreams, and people are breathing life into us and speaking life into us. It's important that we understand that if we're not growing, we're not healthy. I'm going to say that again. If you're not growing, you're not healthy. Growth is actually a byproduct of health. When you get healthy, there's automatic growth that comes with it. But it comes down to what your environment is like. It's like these seeds. If I put these seeds on a countertop and I left them there for a week, would they grow? No. They would still be seeds. If I left them there for a month, would they grow? No. If I left them there for a year, 10 years, would the seed start growing? No, because it's not in a soil. It's not in the right environment. The seed has the potential, but if it's just sitting on the countertop, it's never going to realize that potential. It's never going to become nothing. But if we take that seed and we start planting that seed into the right soil, into the right environment, giving it the right ingredients, then what begins to happen? We all know that growth begins to take place because of that soil. And every single one of you has the potential to grow into something amazing, something beautiful, but we got to get in the right environment. And I want to cover once again tonight as we close out this whole course, I want to help you understand these core concepts that are so important for living our best life. How do we get our body and our mind and our spirit to work together in harmony and to help us to be our best? These three concepts of inner coherence is about the body, and we're going to learn about that right now. About the heart and the mind coherence and what that does for us. And then self-actualization has to do with a mindset. That's a psychology. It's being in a certain mindset where you're tapping into your highest potential. You're giving your 100%. You're creating the life of your dreams. And also transcendence, which we've talked a lot about, but I want to explain it a little bit more better here tonight as we close so we understand if we can do this, if we can learn to have inner coherence in the body and mindset. Our mindset has that self-actualization that we're reaching our full potential. We're using it to the fullest capacity that we can. And our spirit has the life that it needs, and it's making that connection with God, with the universe, and it has that peace and that overwhelming joy and sense of purpose. Then that's when life gets really good. And let's look at that coherence. What happens in the body when there's coherence? So there's two things that are happening, because your brain and your heart is like a second brain. It has neurites that are like the neurons in. They're communicating, sending messages through from your heart to your brain, through your nervous system. So what happens is, and let's look. I looked it up actually. The Heart Math Institute says this, and you can just stay looking at that picture. But What is the brain and heart coherence? Coherence is a state of being when the heart, mind, and emotions are in energetic alignment and cooperation. So when your heart and mind are in alignment and they're cooperating, they're creating synergy, this power of unity between. That means you and I can be divided in ourselves, and that's why we struggle, because we don't have this coherence. But once we learn how to connect our mind and our emotions together, and we focus all of ourselves, and we have a definite purpose, and we know where we're going and what we want to do, what happens is it creates health in our bodies, and it helps that signal to have a better rhythm. Because when we're under stress, what happens is the heart starts to beat in irregular patterns. The heart starts to get erratic under stress, and then the information going between the heart and the mind gets distorted. And that's why when you're upset, you're depressed, you're frustrated, why you feel drained, why you feel tired, why you feel confused, why you can't think properly. But when you start having that coherence, opposite happens. You're able to be sharp. You're able to be at peace. And that's what we're looking for. We want that peace. When we have coherence, we can think clearly. We can remember better. We can learn more effectively. We can reason and be reasonable if we learn how to live in this state. And the other part of it is self-actualization that I want us to understand. And we talked about Maslow's Pyramid, the hierarchy of needs, right? The basic needs, meeting those things. The body, making sure our body's taken care of, our safety. And then our psychological needs, right? Belong, loved, and to love and to have relationships and to have intimacy. Again, all of this is about a mindset. This is about a psychology. And then our self-esteem needs, feeling accomplished, feeling like we're going somewhere, we're setting goals and we're meeting them. Once we get beyond that point and we mature to a place of self-actualization, we start reaching our full potential. It's not like we're ever going to be at a place that we can't grow anymore. It's not like we're ever going to be at a place that we can't improve or get better. I'm here, I'm the best I'm ever going to be. No, it's a mindset that we develop, and it guides our lives so that each and every day when we wake up aiming for the best us. We wake up with our goals in mind and creativity in our heart and peace and joy in life. That's the mindset that we need to have. And the last thing about coherence, transcendence, that I want you to understand is that what transcendence is like about, and in psychology, Maslow actually ended up, after self-actualization, he talked about self-transcendence towards later on in his life. And we don't see that on there, but you can read about it. But what's really happening when people are transcending is when the mind or the soul is reaching out beyond this three-dimensional reality. To me, it's when a person comes to the end of themselves. It's when a person realizes that there's more to life than what they're living out, and they want a connection that goes beyond just the physical realm. And it's when the soul starts searching for the immaterial, or desiring to have a spiritual experience. It's when that spiritual part of us starts yearning and longing to have a connection with the Creator, with God, or whatever people call it, the universe, higher power, universal consciousness, infinite intelligence, source energy, whatever you want to call it. We all have this desire, this need to connect to that higher power, to connect to God, to connect to our Creator and receive that energy of love and life. That's what transcendence is all about. And when we make that connection and we start to live from that higher place, like I talked to you guys about, we learned about what Plato said, and we learned about the Apostle Paul, and we learned about Sigmund Freud and how that pattern was. Again, we all have the savage lower nature. We all have the bad part of us. And then we have the good part. We have the spirit, the white horse, the higher nature. And then we have the soul in the middle, or the intellect, or the mind, the will, the chooser, the one that makes the choice. And that's what I'm saying, that when we learn to live transcendent, it's learning to do the right thing. It's learning to take the high road. That's what we need to do instead of, when someone does us wrong, instead of turning around and fighting back and lashing back, all we're doing is getting in the mud with them. Now we're both dirty. But if we learn to take the high road, that's what Jesus said, do good to those who hurt you. It sounds crazy, but if you live a life that's transcendent and you start to choose that higher road, you're going to see the return. You're going to see beautiful things come your way. You're going to reap the rewards of doing the right thing. Some years back, I was studying about how people do extraordinary things, and how they do supernatural things, or things that people believe to be beyond normal human capability. And I came across this story about the term Olay Olay Olay, about the bullfighters in Spain. And it is believed, that the origin of this chant, because when you go to see the bullfighters and they fight with a bull, and when they win, right, the people chant, Olay, 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 meaning approval, like, wow, man stepped in the ring with the beast and lived. It's something exciting, something, beyond, they think it's like beyond normal human possibility. It's crazy. But the origin of this chant actually came from the ancient Arab world. When the Moors invaded southern Spain, they took the custom of saying, and actually in the Arab world, they would say, Allah, 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 when a performance was considered the work of God or genius. When they seen somebody function on their highest level, when they seen someone performing on their peak potential, a singer or a writer or a dancer or a bullfighter, whatever it was that seemed just supernatural, then they would say, Allah, Allah, God is working through that person. I'm getting a glimpse of the supernatural because that person has tapped into their highest self. And that's what happens to us. When we tap into our highest self and we start using our gifts and we find our place and we find our genius and we start using our genius, people look at us and they say, Olay, Olay, Allah, Allah. Look at, God is moving on that person. They've tapped into a higher source of power and energy. And that's what I want you to understand, that every single one of us can access this power. We can access these abilities if we start to focus on them and we start to develop ourselves. We can live at our highest peak potential. We all have a gift. We all have a gift to give the world. And if you truly want to be happy, and you truly want to be fulfilled, then I want you to please find something you care about more than yourself and give yourself to that. Start to be of service. Start to meet a need. And when you meet a need in the world and you become of service, all of a sudden there's a sense of meaning. There's a sense of destiny. There's a sense of purpose. You see, when we serve others, we become valuable to our family. We become valuable to our community. We become valuable to our generation, and it feels good to be significant. It feels good to have purpose, and the way to do that is find your gift and give it away. Listen, let's not be selfish. Let's not just think about ourselves. That's why people become miserable because of selfishness. This is why it was important that Jesus always taught about being of service. That's what he meant about dying to yourself, not meaning to be miserable in this world. That's what he meant by saying it's more blessed to give than receive. What is he saying? He's saying there is beauty in giving. There's beauty in helping others. There's something about it when you're generous and you're loving towards others that you receive fulfillment within. We need to do this, my friends. And the way we do this is doing the work. We have to put in the work. Listen, nobody can do this work for you. Nobody can develop you but you. You can hire coaches. You can come to seminars, go to college, take classes. But ultimately, personal growth comes from you deciding to better yourself. I can't make that choice for you. Your spouse can't make that choice for you. Your children, your boss, your pastor, whoever it is that you look up to, they can't make that choice for you. That choice is yours to make. You and I have to decide for ourselves every day. Am I going to get up and do the work? Am I going to take the opportunity that I have right now to be alive and start working on me and developing me, if not for me, for the people around me? People around you need you to be better. Your children, your coworkers, your friends. It's time to elevate our game, but we have to decide. Listen, faith without works is dead. If you don't do the work, then there's no value in whatever you're saying or you're believing. You have to go out and do the work. It's so important that we understand this. And when we do this, and we start to do the work, what happens? And this is why, because look at what Jesus said. Jesus said, whoever has will be given more, and he will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what he has, will be taken from him. And what he's talking about in this context is he's talking about knowledge. He's talking about whoever has, meaning they obtain the knowledge and then they apply the knowledge, they get to work on it, then more will be given to them. But whoever doesn't have, whoever takes that knowledge and does nothing with it, they don't grow, they don't develop, they don't build, they don't do nothing with that knowledge, then even that knowledge then will be taken away from them. And it's so funny because we learned about this in Reboot, about how when we think and we feel and we do something, it creates neural networks in our brain. It creates these highways between brain cells to start to automate this process and make it easier for us to become what we want to become. But what did we learn also? That if we don't do the work, if we stop thinking, if we don't think about something, what happens to us? Then the glial cells go through our brain and they start tearing down those old synapses, those old highways that are not in use anymore. In essence, physically what's happening is exactly what Jesus said. That those that have, more will be given, and those who do not have, even what they have, will be taken away, because when you're not using it, you lose it. When you're not using it, listen, this whole Reboot program, I don't like to waste my time. I don't like to waste my breath. If you're not learning, I'm not teaching. The whole point of this whole class, and not just for me, but for you and all of us, is that we get the information and we go apply it so that it can become more for us. And that's my hope and my prayer for every single one of you listening to this. We have to understand that if we don't use the knowledge we're given, then it's going to be lost. Now, I understand the toughest part is, I told you that. The knowing's not so hard. The being ain't so hard. It's the doing that's hard. And that's why people listen to this stuff and they fall off. They don't want to show up. They don't want to do the work because the doing's tough. And that's why Tony Robbins always talks about taking massive action. Massive action. What is he saying? He's saying do something with what you learn. If you understand it, go out and do it in massive action. In other words, if you do it and do it and do it, like anything else, you repeat it, it becomes a part of you. Too many of us are on autopilot. It's time to get back in the driver's seat and get out of autopilot. Listen, the whole idea of reprogramming ourselves is trying to tap in to that 5% of our conscious mind, that conscious awareness, that focus, that attention is so small, like our attention span right now. How difficult is it to just stay focused? Sometimes we hear this, we think about this pops up, that pops up. Our mind is literally juggling different thoughts all the time. So the whole idea here is that if we can start to harness the conscious mind, if we can start to take control of our focus, and we can start to command it, wake up and become the captain of our ship again, and start to direct it ourselves, then we can start to reprogram that big old subconscious machine that's running us. And when we do that, now the body and the heart and the feelings and the emotions and every part of us, the subconscious, is working for us, not against us. And that's what we want. That's how we create these winning habits, by reprogramming ourselves. How do we do this? There's a teaching called mindfulness. Some of you may have heard about mindfulness before. What is mindfulness? Mindfulness is about coming to the now. Our mind is always in the past, in the future. We're thinking about what's next. We're thinking about what just happened, but how often are we just right now? Stop, just this moment in time, right now. What are you taking from it? And when you become mindful throughout your day, it's learning to anchor yourself in the now. And you do this by paying attention to your senses. Your breath. Feel your breath. Feel your body. How does it feel? What do you hear? What do you touch? All of these things. See, when you do this and it brings you, it anchors you in the now. Now your mind came back because your mind was over there, over there, over there. And mindfulness is so important. We could learn to do this, practice this all the time when we're eating. Like, how often do we just eat? My mom always gets mad at me because she says I eat too fast. And I just shove everything down my mouth. I can barely breathe and I'm off to the races, right? She says, son, just bite the food and enjoy it. And I've had to learn how to just slow it down, just like be mindful about the salad you're eating, the sandwich, whatever it is. Be mindful when your kids are talking to you. Stop just hushing them up and running around, and stop for a moment and just listen to their wonderful voice. Listen to this beautiful blessing that you have been given as a child, and just be mindful of their heart, their feelings. When I love talking to my son, I try so hard to be mindful and there in the moment. That's when life becomes beautiful, when you learn to live in the moment. You learn to be here now. You see these two people? It's either our mind is full of all kinds of crazy stuff, or we learn to be mindful of the now. And enjoy the moment. Enjoy the sun on your face when you get to have it. Enjoy the breeze in the trees. See, that's what life is made of. Stop letting stress take your attention off the beauty of life. This is so important for us. Look at what Moses said. Moses said, teach us to number our days, that we may gain a heart of wisdom. Teach us to number our days, that we may gain a heart of wisdom. In other words, not count my days, not how many have passed, but how many are left. Teach me to number my days. Help me to understand that my days are numbered. Help me to understand that I'm not going to be here forever in this earth, in this three-dimensional reality, this earth plane. I'm not going to always be here. Help me to see that there is an end to this here, so that I can start to be wise with my days, so I don't waste my days, so I don't waste my energy. I want to be able to wake up with wisdom and start to enjoy every waking moment of consciousness, because it goes fast. Look at what King Solomon said. King Solomon said, all go to the same place. All come from the dust, and to the dust all return. He said, who knows if the human spirit rises upward, and if the spirit of an animal goes down into the earth? So I saw that there is nothing better for a person to do than to enjoy their work, because that is their lot. That's what they've been given. In other words, this life, you have a lot, a set amount that we get to live here. He says, for who can bring them to see what will happen after them? Everybody's worried about what's going to happen after us. What's going to happen when I die? Where am I going to go? What's going to happen to my people around me? Listen, stop being so worried about that. You got to look at now. He said, look, I've seen there's nothing better than to enjoy your work. This is your lot. This is what we have. What a precious gift to be alive in this time, to affect our generation. This is our moment to love our families. This is our moment to build our business. This is our moment to live at peak potential, to enjoy it. I try my best. And I'm telling you, this is possible because I've been practicing this stuff. And I was telling the guys earlier, listen, I've been having so many better days. So many joyful days and peaceful days because I'm learning not to allow all this junk to fill my mind, and I'm learning how to focus and how to stay consistent. Look, it's your choice. You can do whatever you want to do with this life. It's called a free will. You can create the life of your dreams. It was a gift given to you by your Creator. Don't take it for granted. Don't take it lightly. Don't throw it away. Do something beautiful with it. It's time to start writing the story you want to write. It's time to start being the hero in your story instead of just being an extra in this world around you, but starting to be somebody in your own mind. Listen, there will always be people that don't see your value, but don't let it be you. Don't worry about the people that don't see your value. You got to see your value. You got to believe in yourself. You got to be able to say, I'm going to do something with myself. My Creator made me special. I'm amazing. I have this beautiful ability to create, to invent, to imagine, to build. What an amazing gift. Listen, we need to get away from people that are tearing us down and get around people that are helping us to grow. This way we can see a better vision for ourselves. And I told you guys before about the vision, how important it is. And I hope that you go back every 90 days. Look, we're coming to the end of Reboot. This was a 90-day challenge. You were supposed to write your goals down in the beginning and see how far you've gotten in the last 90 days. This is not over. Reboot's over. For you, it's just beginning. That is a pattern that you're going to continue to have. So you get your vision and you write your long-term goals 3 to 5 years from now. What are you going to have? What business are you going to have? What job are you going to have? How much is your income going to be? What vacations do you want to go on? How do you want to affect your community? All of these things, think about it. The next 3 to 5 years. Are you going to be married? Not? Do you want to be? Does it matter? All of these things are important. You got to focus on them. And then your mid-range goals, 6 months to a year. In the next 6 months to a year, what am I going to do? What are my goals that align with my vision? See, I have a big vision. And then I have my long-term goals, and then I have my mid-range goals, and then I have my short-term goals, which is in the next 90 days. And off of that, you create your daily planner, your daily calendar, your daily schedule. This is how productive people live. This is how winners live. This is how people build stuff, is they get a big old vision, and then they break it down in small steps so that they can accomplish that vision. And that's what Reboot is about. That's what I want you to understand. You can dream really big, but be willing to start small, one step in front of the other, and start being consistent, having discipline in your life, and you're going to see the fruit of that. And you know what's amazing about this whole thing is accomplishing that goal is great. Like whatever that goal is that you want to attain, it's amazing, but that's not even the real value there. You know, the true value of accomplishing your goal is who you became in order to achieve that goal. You see, I realized that in order for me to be wealthy, I have to have a wealthy mindset. In order for me to be influential, I have to be that type of person. If I want to be a winner, I have to become a winner. And it starts on the inside, and that means when you accomplish your goal, yeah, it's fun, you celebrate, but then what? It's on to the next. You can't celebrate forever that one victory, but what can you celebrate? You can celebrate life because you have grown. You have become a better person by chasing that goal. You've become more disciplined. You've become more knowledgeable. You've become resilient. You learn how to pop back up and keep going. You've developed new skills and abilities because you were chasing that goal. You learn to be flexible. You learn to be efficient and not waste anymore. You learn to manage yourself. You learn to be consistent. You learn to be a good steward. You learn to enjoy the process, to enjoy life. You learn to win. And now that you know how to win, and now that you know how to accomplish your goals, there's no turning back. You're not going to settle anymore because you're not just a hearer now. You're a doer. You do the word. You do the truth. You act upon what you learn. You refuse to be limited. You no longer will with being mediocre. You won't settle for average anymore. You're going to want higher dreams for yourself. You're going to want it all because you went after it and you achieved it and you became somebody more. That's the benefit of going after your goals and accomplishing them, is who you become on the way to accomplishing them. Listen, we need to raise the standard for ourselves. We need to see ourselves as true champions, not paper champions. I don't want to be no paper champion. Just looks good on paper, but you ain't never fought a real battle. You ever seen those fighters in boxing and the UFC? Supposedly they're champs, but they ain't fought nobody serious. They ain't fought nobody real. They ain't ever been through no real challenges. That's not the kind of champion that I want to be. And I know you don't want to be no paper champion. True champions contend with the best. I want to contend with the elite. I want to be on the highest levels of life. And that's what I want you to be able to do. And I want to look at what Theodore Roosevelt wrote. It's called The Man in the Arena. And I love this writing that he wrote. He says, "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms and great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat." I want to be like the man in the arena. I'm not going to sit on the sidelines and be a critic and just criticize the people that are trying to do better for themselves. I want to cheer you on if that's who you are. And I want you to understand something. Don't worry about the critics. Don't worry about the naysayers. Don't worry about the hecklers and the people just watching you to make fun of you. Forget about all them. You're in the arena. You got dirt on your face. You're going to know what it is to live life. And I want to close with this. Dr. William Mather Lewis, he said the tragedy of life is not that it ends so soon, but that we wait so long to begin. We wait so long to begin it. Listen, my friends, stop putting your happiness on hold. Stop waiting for this to happen and that to happen for you to get better and do better and be better. This is your time. There's no more time to waste. It's time for you now to take advantage of the knowledge that's been offered to you, this free gift of life, this gift of free will, this consciousness, this great ability that you have, and start to do something amazing. Start to be great so that when people look at you, they can start to cheer you on and say, Olay, Olay, Allah, Allah. Look at what God has done in this person. Look at this person that has chosen to live their best life and from their highest self. I know you can do it, my friend. I'll be cheering you on. I can't wait to hear more from you about what great things you accomplished. Go and be amazing. Ramon Ramos at your service. Thank you for coming to